Hey everybody, how's it going? This video is going to be a comprehensive how-to semi-tutorial without me doing anything on how I make my Crusade Terminators. I've gotten requests for this in the past, and I've done quicker videos. This is going to be just really focusing on this. I was asked because somebody asked me because they want to make a Death Guard Heresy Terminators. I think they want to go back as far as when they were the Dusk Raiders, when they had a different color scheme with the white with the red arm. But that's neither here nor there. This will work, no matter what the color scheme is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down. I'm going to talk about the body and the arms first. Then I'll talk about helmets, and then I'll talk about shoulder pads. So, body and arm. Well, bodies first, let's say. I use standard Terminator bodies. You can also use some of the Chaos Terminator torsos at the very least. The legs, unless you want to do more grinding, or if they fit in with your scheme, I wouldn't really touch. But definitely some of the upper torsos work. Depending how anal you are about the Crux Terminatus, you will have to grind them off if you're really anal, or if you're not, you can leave them on. I left them on because I feel there's nothing to say that they didn't already have a similar symbol during the Crusade, so that's why I did that. But any body and leg combination will work. Space Wolves, you can use Dark Angel upgrade bits from this Veteran Sprue. You can use regular Space Marine Terminators. You can use parts of the Chaos Terminators. All of that will work. You just put it together as normal. The arms are pretty standard. Just use the weapons you got. They will work just fine. If you think about it, the Chaos Terminators have combi bolters, which is like what they had during the Crusade, which is a twin-link bolter, but it looks pretty much the same as a storm bolter. So you can just use storm bolters to represent that, and just use most storm bolters depending on which codex you're using. So really not a problem there. All the weapons work just fine. The Chaos Power Fist can be pretty cool looking, so if you want to sub them in, or if you're going to be using Lightning Claws, the Chaos Lightning Claws a little I think a little bit better to go with the theme, but anything will work. And I just subbed out the Storm Shield, which I did a video on that already, but that's the only thing you may want to do, is either grind down the Storm Shield that they come with, or utilize them the way they are and say screw it, or replace them. So that's the body and the arms. Let's talk about the head. The heads for pre-Heresy Terminators, Great Crusade Terminators, aren't like the heads we have on post-Heresy Terminators. I often wish they were, only because they make things so much easier. But this opens up for a lot of potential, because the helmets, they were more like power armor helmets, and you can have more creativity with them. You can make them look very knight-like, very archaic helmets. When utilizing non-Terminator specific helmets, you're going to have to clip it a bit to make it fit in. The Terminator helmet is actually smaller than the standard Spaceman helmet. It's longer, but it's not as tall. So the hole that it goes in is not as tall either. You can also use bear heads. I'm not a fan of bear-headed models that much, because I don't like painting flesh. But if you do, then you'll be fine. I think most bear heads will fit in just fine. If you want to do helmets, you have a couple of options. You could do, I don't have a bit on hand to show you, the Warriors of Chaos helmet. What you do is you trim off the horns. Now the horns will have a little like ear nub piece where the horns connect. It would be like, looks like a little circle that's on top of the helmet. Leave that there. Don't trim that all the way down, but leave that there for pretty much all of them, and file that nice and smooth. And then it'll be like little earbuds if you want them. You can always trim them off if you don't want them. Then the head's gonna kind of not fit in quite right. It's gonna be looking down a bit, so you might want to trim the little neck area, the little half ball that's on the bottom to represent the neck. Trim that a bit so it fits in. You're really not going to see. You can trim it completely off so it slides right in, because you're really not going to see below the helmet anyway on these models. So that's one way you could do it. You can kit bash that way. Another thing you can do is actually utilize, let's see if I can get it to zoom in, utilize the Terminator helmet. If you're going to utilize this, you have to do some conversions to it. You're going to have to take this piece right here, if I can find it, that little sticking up part, you have to file that down. Then you have to take a blade or a saw and kind of line it up with the eye, the cheek and the eye area, and cut this so it's nice and smooth like that, on a pretty steep angle on both sides. It'll make it look kind of like a night helm. And then you drill some holes on one side looking like breather holes just for effect. So you do that on both sides, and then you can utilize the helmet just fine. I did that once. It takes some practice, but it's very doable. You just take your time, do it slowly. And once you get better at it, you can do it quicker and quicker, add some embellishments to it. You can take green stuff in case you don't perfectly smooth it out and make it flush to fill any little gaps or make it smooth that way, or add any embellishments you want. And that will fit in just fine into the Terminator torso because it's meant to fit in there. And you're utilizing more of the kit that you bought, therefore saving money, and so you don't have to go out and buy bits or kits to kit bash. Or if you want a really specific look, and you like the kind of like the Steam Knight look, because that's what they're called, Steam Knight helmets. Max Mini has these helmets that I'm using for my Deathwing. If it'll focus in for some reason, that'd be great. There we go. So this helmet, and there's different styles, 5 different styles. They work very well. However, you notice, let's see if I can get this to stay focused. That would be great, but hold on. The bottom portion of the helmet, right here. Sometimes you just gotta trim this off. Sometimes you gotta trim all the way up to here off, depending on the helmet, to get it to slide in and fit without looking down, tilting its head down. You want its head up a little bit, and making the torso nice and straight up also helps with that. But other than that, they fit in just fine. They look great. So that's your head options, which is what I used, as you can see here. This is one of their styles. I think you can order specific ones, but I didn't. I just did random. Last thing that's left is your shoulder pads. Now, your shoulder pads are kind of a tedious thing because of the style and look that they have, which is something like this. Makes them kind of annoying to do. You have right here 3 options, and there's a 4th option. The 4th option is making your own. You either sculpt out of green stuff. If you do that, you can utilize this for the curvature, and then trim it and everything, and then take it off when it's done. Or you could build it using plastic card and cardstock, still utilizing this for the curve. Both are a little bit more time consuming than just kit bashing. I don't have the ability really to do either of them. I tried making my own plastic card, didn't work too well, but if you know how to utilize plastic card and cardstock, this can work very well, especially if you get good at it, because then you can make your own style time and again and make it look unique. Or if you're not going to do that, you can do some kit bashing or buying bits, third-party bits. So start off with kit bashing. This is a Dreadnought leg plate armor. I believe this goes on the left leg of the Dreadnought. They do have specific left and rights the way they fit in because there's cables here. So this would be on the inside, and this would be the outside of the Dreadnought. And the right leg would be the opposite. So this would be on the inside, and this side would have that. You get the idea. You just gotta trim this off, but because that's just where it connects to the sprue. These work really great for stand-in, and they work really great as the shoulder pads. They look fine. I utilized one of these sets on my Thousand Suns Terminators that I showed you, I think, way back when. But they work, and if you can find a bit store that carries them in stock, go for it. It's probably the cheapest method of making the leg plates, or the shoulder pads with the leg plates, because I wouldn't buy a bunch of Dreadnought kits just to take this. So if you find a place that's carrying them, I would say, and you like the way it looks, I would say use it. it's probably your best bet. Now, let's think about this. The next thing you could do is find inspiration somewhere else. Now, I did this for my Thousand Suns for 3 of the 5 Terminators. This is a Tomb King's Chariot's, I think, front armor piece or something like that. Connects on the front of the chariot. It works for a shoulder pad. However, its curvature is a little bit wider than this one, which is pretty much what you want. Oh, and with the dreadnoughts, you just gotta trim these the parts where they connect to the leg off, so it's nice and flush. But yeah, the curvature is a little bit not as narrow as the leg plate. So this is a little bit wider. So one thing I definitely recommend doing, which you can do with this one as well, is taking plastic card strips to utilize as look like leather stripping. This coming or leather leather stripping or leather ribbons, whatever you want to call that stuff. I forget the name. Coming off of the shoulder pad from the inside. So you glue it to the inside of it and have it hang down a bit. It kind of covers the arm a little bit, makes it look a little bit more ornate, and it definitely completes the look, especially for this, because it is pretty wide. But they do work. They look great on Thousand Suns, and they can work very well on Death Guard. I suppose World Leaders and Iron Warriors use it too, but I definitely say Death Guard and Thousand Suns would make the best use of this one. They come in 2 different styles. I don't have the other one with me. The other one still has a skull in the middle, but this is like ribbing, just a pattern, no skulls over there. So that works too. It goes on just the same way as you put this shoulder pad on. The things with these shoulder pads is, you really can't put them on until you put the arm on. So no matter what shoulder pad you go with, it's going to be a little bit of a tedious process, because you have to attach the arms and then get the shoulder pads to sit on the arms nicely. The last step is going back to Max Mini, and I believe Marco Art Studios also has a Terminator shoulder pad for that'll get the pre-harrier look going, and order those. The Max Mini one comes in a bunch of styles. I think you can order them of a specific style, but it'll make your order take longer to process. I just took the random, so I got the random pieces. This one isn't fully painted yet, but that's okay. I still gotta do the bolt gun around the trim, but you get the idea. That's what it would look like when it's fully done and painted around the other side. They work pretty well. Don't really need much cleanup, but still, since it has more detail on it. Kind of. The Tomb King ones has detail too, but this is kind of smaller detail on the curve. Makes them even more tedious depending on which shoulder pad you use from that range. And then you pretty much put the full thing together and you get something like this, and like this, depending on the shoulder pad you use and everything, and the heads. You can see how this guy's looking down a little bit, as opposed to this guy who's not. I didn't do as much trimming on that one, and that's why the head fits like that. It works, but it's just the and that may be what you go for the pose, but just showing you the difference. So that's pretty much it for the Terminators. I don't really do anything special aside from kit bash there. If you go with green stuff and plastic card, you can mold your own shoulder pads. You can even do embellishments on the armor, but I'm not, so I don't do that. Really, just look around at the kits you have and the bits you have. Chances are you can find some that can be like a cool dangly bit on the model, or I was looking at the Tomb King's stuff because I was kit bashing it anyway for the weapons, and the prow armor just seemed to work. I thought it would work and it ended up working. So I hope that was helpful to anybody who was wondering more in depth how I do it a little bit more in depthly is the word? I have no idea. But that's how I do my Terminators. That's how I do my shooting and those assault Terminators. And that's pretty much the process, although with the different bits I did for my Thousand Sun Terminators as well. One other thing you could do is take a top knot, clip it off from Chaos Space Marine helmets, and glue it to the center of the Terminator, more towards the front on the top here, because a lot of the pre-heresy Terminators had those little top knots up there. But it's not necessary, but it is a nice little embellishment to do. So anyways, that's pretty much it. And until next time, take it easy.